Good morning. It is 9 a.m. or just past the 9 a.m. hour here Mountain Time in beautiful Denver, Colorado. Another milestone we're hitting at this point in our 24 hours on a bench conversation. It is the 20th hour, so we have 4 hours left. And once again today, just a friendly reminder, every October 10th is World Homelessness Day, where we recognize our friends and neighbors who are experiencing homelessness. And this is really why we've been on a bench since 1 o'clock on Thursday, and we're having conversations with key community leaders and key leaders within the mission who are helping people experiencing homelessness. And this is a very unique guest that I have to my right. Mauri is one of the board members here at Denver Rescue Mission, and she is a very unique story, and we're going to unpack that story a little bit. But we're not going to talk about necessarily just the board side of what you do at the mission. So I'm going to give you a very open-ended question to start this, Mauri. You and I go way back. We started volunteering on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving on a very chilly night outside the Fillmore Theater, where we help gather food donations. So in addition to that, we are soccer fans as well. So amongst all that's going to happen in the next 25 or so minutes, Mauri, what makes you interested in what the mission is doing?
I really care about scoping the community, and a lot of people move to Colorado and move to Denver, and they move to these, popular cities, and then they stay here and they do everything that Colorado has to offer and ski and enjoy Denver and the restaurants, but then they don't really look around at what's going on within the city, and how you can make an impact and how you can be a good neighbor and really shepherd that connection. So I started volunteering at the mission in 2019. I was running a race through Rhino 5K, and there was a join young professionals, through Denver Rescue Mission. Never heard of Denver Rescue Mission at that point, and then I was able to go to essentially a serve and social. We served a meal at Lawrence Street, and then went to grab pizza afterwards. And there's a few employees that are still at the mission that were there, and I feel like I was borderline aggressive. Like, how do I get involved with Denver Rescue Mission? And they haven't gotten rid of me, so they just they can't.
Mauri, we're not interested in getting rid of you. I promise you that. Ever since that day in 2019. So for you, let's stick on the YP, the Young Professionals. One of the many acronyms that are around this mission, the Young Professionals. What specifically drew you to that tent on that Saturday at that 5K? Because there are other opportunities you could have gone to, I'm sure, otherwise, 5K or otherwise. Why the mission?
There was probably about 4 or 5 different tables, and I think the word Denver really kind of drew me in. It was just, I was like, oh, this is helping the community. This is actually helping the city that I live in. So I was able to talk with a few people there, and got a flyer, and it was kind of funny because that flyer, I think it sat in my drawer for about 5 months, and then I was able to reach out, and I remembered the conversation that I had when I had a little bit more capacity to volunteer. So that was kind of really the reason. It was kind of happenstance. But then at that point, we didn't have a set young professionals group yet. We were looking to start that. So when I was kept saying I want to be back, I want to volunteer. That was another thing that I really like about Denver Rescue Mission, is that there are so many volunteer slots and times, and you can volunteer. You can schedule something a month out, and I was probably a little bit of human error, but when I was in Chicago, I was trying to always find volunteer opportunities, and I could never find slots. I could just never. I was looking, and I had a little bit of a funny schedule, so I couldn't schedule a month or two out. And now I have a pretty normal 9 to 5 schedule, and I'm able to schedule those out. But I think it really helps for people to have a friendly face when they're serving with, and kind of being that, oh, I'm serving with a group. I might not know anyone in the group, but at least I know that they're probably kind of people like me, or
like-minded individuals.
And wanting to get to know each other. So that was early 2019, and then we were able to start kind of the official Young Professionals Committee later in 2019, and we've been going ever since. So we had to pivot in COVID, of course.
Sure.
We had to stop some of our socials, but we volunteered a lot during COVID, especially at National Western, and people felt helpless, during that year and a half, I would say. So we were, constantly getting requests to, like, how can I volunteer more? And, people had the time, and they felt safe to come out. And, Denver Rescue Mission was very safe during COVID as well.
So how much of your community, your social community that you have here in Denver, initially was built from that young professional connection?
I'd say about 50-50.
Oh, wow.
So
That's a significant number of your friends from that experience.
Definitely.
Or somehow from that experience.
Yeah, network, yeah. Well, it's hard to make friends as an adult.
Yeah.
It's,
yes.
If you don't have the college experience and you don't have the school experience, it's kind of like trying to make friends. It's kind of like dating. It's like, how do you...
Well, the beauty of young professionals, you're just going into it as a like-minded person who just want to help people experiencing homelessness. And like you said earlier, it might take 2, 3, 4 volunteer experiences, but eventually you start seeing familiar faces, and then your friend network starts after that, because you've had pizza or whatever it is you do after your volunteer experience, and then before you know it, you're going to Rapids games together and
yes.
whatever else might be the case. Talk about more. Let's stick on the young professionals for a little bit here. It's more than just volunteering, though. Because what has started recently with Young Professionals is an education series.
Yes.
Can you expound a little bit upon the education series that the Young Professional does? I think they do it once or every other month at this point.
Mm-hmm. So we started out, a series of different topics of how people can, instead of just volunteering and having some of that social and networking aspect, we really want people to understand the issues. And there's so many. I mean, the scope of employees here and their knowledge, and they're the experts in homelessness. They have been very, very kind and come and talk to the young professionals and answer questions. We recently did a healthcare and homelessness session, which was very, very educational. And it was interesting because we went around and everyone said where they're from, and there was so many people that haven't been to a Denver Rescue Mission Young Professionals event before, and a lot of them were in healthcare because they just want to keep educating themselves. So, and that's, I think, one of the on top of actually volunteering and kind of donating your time or money to the mission, just understanding and having that empathy towards to people that are suffering in your neighborhood. That's so important, and I've been able to have those conversations with strangers or with coworkers about some of the real issues, and kind of take away from the stigma that might be homelessness, and lightly educate some of that. So I think we're trying to provide those tools and then also foster that communication and that network to understand.
So let's unpack this for a second. You talk about the social side, you talk about helping your community, and now you just talk about stigma. So a 24-year-old just moved to Denver, graduated college recently. They're scared to go downtown because of the stigmas that they hear about what's happening in downtown. How would you respond to somebody who says, I really want to volunteer, but I'm scared to go downtown, or I'm nervous about seeing people who are experiencing homelessness? How would you encourage them to destigmatize the stereotypes they've had?
It's a very good question. I would say, I think it's always great to grab a buddy to go volunteer with. It's, strength in numbers.
Sure.
If you're nervous to walk into the volunteer area. I also think it's, you always have to kind of put, your safety first. But if you go over there, I mean, it's not scary. It's not. They're people, and they're struggling, and it's just those are if you look at the individuals and just kind of realize what they're going through, it's not scary. You just have to face it. I think that's part of it. I mean, it's so easy to turn away from everything that's hard that's happening kind of in our country, in our city, and if you just really kind of focus on the humanity of it, I think it makes it easier.
There is definitely something to be said for, growth comes from pushing through those uncomfortable moments. And some of that can be, pushing through the stereotypes that you might have, what is stopping you from coming to downtown at Lawrence Street or even our 48th Avenue to volunteer. But it's always not just about volunteering. It is about building a social network. And that's kind of the beauty of YP is you can really accomplish two things in a very significant way, doing 1, 2.5, 3 hour, moment of your afternoon or evening, whatever the case may be. So you have now been a part of this mission since 2019. That's 6 years. You moved here from Chicago. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let's back up just a little bit in your timeline. What drew you to Denver from the Chicagoland area?
So I have a lot of family here. My parents met and married out here. My mom's from Broomfield, and then she moved to Chicago in the 80s. So I grew up coming out here and visiting my grandparents and my uncle, and going up to Telluride, up in the mountains near Vail. So Colorado was very familiar to me, and I was able to come out here and have my brother lived out here at the time too in Boulder. So him and I are very close, and was excited to see him. And but I didn't know anyone actually in Denver. So it's like I had the network in Colorado, but I, didn't know anyone in Denver. So I was really starting from pretty much of like a fresh start. So there's a lot of Chicago people out here.
There are.
So it's funny to see just running into random people from high school or college here and there. But I've started from a kind of a pretty, net zero network, I'd say.
And now all of a sudden, you moved here about a decade ago, not quite a decade.
2017.
So pushing on that decade mark. When you moved here in 2017, would you have said, I'm going to be on the board of directors of a major nonprofit?
No. No, did not see that.
When you stopped at that Rhino table at the Denver Rescue Mission at the Rhino 5K in 2019, I'm sure you were thinking, I'm going to be on the missions board in 6 years. I'm sure that was not on your bingo card.
No, it was not.
So
even probably a few years ago, not on my bingo card.
But you've hit bingo, so to speak. What is it like being in that room? And I understand you have very private conversations, and I understand you can't reveal necessarily everything, but how do you steward that major responsibility that you have as a board member at this nonprofit?
Listening. That's probably the strongest thing that you can do, is listen and absorb and think about it, and try not to let it keep you up at night, but really just kind of understanding and seeing what the senior leadership team and Dennis need help on, and what type of perspectives that they need. I think I was brought in to really kind of foster the younger people, I would say, and help with the Denver Rescue Mission's donor base, and just having more younger people understand. So really trying to kind of narrow in on that, and that's my expertise, I should say. I don't know if I can call it that, but that's kind of what I'm there for. But I'm also I'm learning so much more about the mission, and just the education that I get just sitting in the room already for a year is just like I feel very honored to be a part of those conversations, and it's changing the way that I view organizations and view the mission and view kind of the issues. It's I didn't expect that, I would say, and that's been really great just for my personal growth as well.
Well, as Spider-Man says, with what is the quote? With great power comes great responsibility. And
like, what is that?
Yeah, then he shoots his spider webs out. And I would say, like, before we get too slap happy here at 9:20 on Friday morning, what have you learned about the mission while being on the board? But also, two-part question: what have you learned about yourself?
So, the mission. Everything is changing constantly.
Yeah.
And it's just constant new, statistics are just we're changing how we do things. That's something that I've really admired about the mission, is just it's like what is that, elasticity?
Okay. Oh, yeah.
It's we get,
We're not a brick organization.
No.
We're a trampoline because
Yes.
we always have to adapt to whatever is happening.
Yes, absolutely. And, we, especially with, the fire in Fort Collins, we had to, everyone had to just bounce back. We had to react so quickly. And just with, the changes in our current world right now. So it's really refreshing that the organization is just able to adapt, and they're listening, and they're figuring out what the needs are in Denver, and they're adapting to that, which is not every 133-year-old organization can say that. We're not stuck in our ways. I would also say that I've always really admired the people that work at Denver Rescue Mission, and as much as the the population that we're serving, it's the employees that have also kept me. I've been really fortunate to work really closely with so many of them, and that's kind of that's on top of what we're actually doing. That's what's really kind of brought me back and kept me so engaged over these years. Everyone's they're a mix between coworkers and families, I'd say. I mean, even our relationship, we run into each other at Trader Joe's. It's just start talking right away. So I can contact you about anything. So it's
when you do contact me. Total side note. Mauri knows that I'm a huge Liverpool fan in the English Premier League, and she knows not to text me results any longer because of a very unfortunate incident when she texted me the result of a very key game that my favorite team was playing. But I forgave you.
Yes,
I
yes.
did.
Did not know that you weren't watching the game live for
no,
Arsenal.
I was not
Liverpool,
watching the
so
game live.
I ruined
but
that
it's okay.
for you. I think I ruined 2 games for you. So
you
now
did.
I really, that was.
You did.
I ruined a big game in May.
But like the mission, I believe in grace, and I believe that our friendship is bigger than ruining English Premier League soccer results. So it's totally fine.
I know now.
Let's do a little rapid fire question here. What is, if you had to say one word that describes the mission, newcomer, once again, the young professional comes up to you, just moved here. What's one word you would describe the mission? And why?
One word?
One
quickly?
word that you would describe. It's a complicated one, but as you know, young people, so to speak, I am not young anymore.
Yes, you are.
Thank
You're
you.
young at heart.
Also true. They want some quick snippets, if you will, and they want that quick elevator pitch. And if I'm definitely putting you on the spot, but one word you would describe the mission, and then why would you choose that one word?
First one that comes to mind is strength in our community. So I guess, showing up when we're needed. The city calls on us a lot to.
They do.
To help them through their struggles, and kind of even thinking back to COVID. But I'd say the strength. I mean, we do really, really hard work, and it's very, very taxing, and it's a lot more taxing for kind of the employees that dedicate their life to what we're doing, and they have to have strength, and our guests have to have strength too. It's when you're experiencing homelessness, it is so hard to get out of it, and you have to, depending on kind of what you're struggling with, it's never a quick fix. It's always something that's really hard. So it's their strength too. It's the people that can get out of it, and that they can live on their own again, and have jobs and be able to contribute to their community and their families. I mean, that's a lot of strength.
Can you share a story, or stories if you'd like, about a guest interaction that you had, or a guest story that you heard about in the about 6 years that you've been associated with the mission, that really moved you in a way that you were surprised by?
There was a gentleman that was in our shelter, and it was 2019, 2020. He was working in the kitchen a little bit at the time, and then COVID happened, and he was just so funny. I mean, you would just be working in the kitchen with him, and he would just make you laugh. Yeah. And he then COVID happened, and things were changing, and that was a a scary time. But he, I asked him about his family, and He's like, oh, well, everyone's in, essentially a 1-bedroom apartment, and I'm fine. I'm alone. I can stay here. That's not, he's like, I'm okay to hang out here. And the conversation was, much longer than that, of course, but he's like, this is fine. Like, this is a good place to be. I'm safe and I have food. And he ended up moving back to Virginia. He had some family that had some space, but he was just so funny. He would, and then I think when we moved to National Western, he would see me, serving at the front, and he would just start yelling my name, and he was just.
That's awesome.
He was like, "I see you, Mauri." He would just start yelling that, which was funny. So
that's awesome.
He always comes to mind, and he moved to Virginia, so I haven't seen him since,
But like that's the kind of interaction that's very possible to have.
Absolutely.
If you keep showing up.
Yes.
And but so many people don't realize, like, you might not form a serious, quote unquote, serious relationship with the individuals who use our services, but make no mistake, you're forming a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And in this instance, like, you made an impact on this person.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's a beautiful part of what volunteering can bring. Like, the more
Mm-hmm.
you show up, the more that you can create a relationship and create a story that not only helps you, but helps the guests that use our services.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he didn't need, he also, he didn't need someone
fair.
to mentor. He just wanted someone to joke with, and that's what I was there for. It was, yeah.
How have you been challenged in the last 6 years?
You're asking really good questions.
I'm full of them. What have you learned about? I can frame it a different way. What have you learned about yourself as a young professional? But as much as that as a person as well.
To care about your community and try to make a positive impact. And a lot of us can't save the world, and we can't do everything to solve all of the issues that we might be faced with. But if you can just kind of bite it down and take a little piece and just focus on what you can do. And I think Denver's it's still a mountain of, theoretically speaking, of things that that we need to change and that you can do. But it's just taking that first step, and it's just
Well, there's the old adage of, how do you eat an elephant?
Yes.
Just one bite at a time.
Just one bite at a time.
If you look at it too big of a wide angle scale, you will feel defeated to fix the issue before you even realize, like, it just takes a level of patience in the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
In one life, we'll change another life. We'll change another life. We'll change another life.
Absolutely.
As we close here, I am curious, like, trying to think how to ask this final. It's a simple question, but if a person is dipping their toes in the volunteer waters of Denver Rescue Mission, or dipping their toes in the YP waters of Denver Rescue Mission, what pieces of advice would you give that individual so they're actually fully immersed in what's happening as a young professional?
Best thing to do is just show up. We serve every Thursday, once a month, the second Thursday of every month. Sorry, and just kind of having that on your calendar. And you might have a long day at work, but just showing up and seeing what we do. I think just volunteering your time, and then just understanding the issues and educating yourself. There's a lot of resources within Denver Rescue Mission for education as well, and just understanding and just having that empathy. That's the best thing that you can do, is just show up to the conversation.
And what has surprised you most about being a part of what's going on here?
How compassionate people are. Yeah. I'd say, the employees, our guests. It's just, people have really big hearts, and it's great to be around. It inspires me. I want to be more involved. I want to dedicate more of my time because I'm surrounded by such amazing people here.
Yeah. Well, Mauri, I have peppered you with some questions, and I really appreciate it. And I said in our lead up to this conversation, we can have a conversation, but I apologize for interviewing you, but you have been so gracious and kind in answering these questions. I appreciate it. But I will close by saying Mauri is a huge supporter of the mission, and she is spot on. Like, just take that first step, and before you know it, you think you're giving back to the mission, but before you know, the mission is giving back to you in a very, very significant way. And I have fallen in love with Denver since I moved here 7 years ago, and I think you're in a very similar boat.
Absolutely.
For sure. And this is our community, and we are. What's the best way to describe it? We are called to serve the city that we're living, and there are just times that you will find out so many new things about yourself when you step out and do something that might be a little uncomfortable, that before you know it, it's going to be very comfortable, and you're doing it on a regular basis.
Yes.
And that's kind of what happened with you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mauri, for taking
Thank
a
you,
Friday
Stephen.
morning. And we're going to take a wrap, and we're going to be having a former guest of the mission as our next conversation. But before that, we're going to check out this little video, and we'll be right back.